Once upon a time in the heart of the savannah, a kind-hearted girl saved a cursed tiger trapped in despair. Their bond would spark a tale of loyalty, greed, and redemption. But will the balance of nature survive human greed? Stay tuned to discover a story that will touch your heart and inspire your soul. The sun blazed high above the savannah, casting shimmering waves of heat across the dusty trails of Mbala village. Amani, a curious and kind-hearted girl of 12, wandered near the edge of the forest, her small hands clutching a woven basket. She was searching for wild fruits to bring home to her mother, who had been feeling weak from the long drought. Her ears perked up when a faint growl echoed from the dense thicket ahead. Freezing in her tracks, Amani strained to listen. The sound was low and guttural, not like anything she had heard before. Able to quell her curiosity, she crept closer, weaving through tall grasses and prickly bushes. There, in a small clearing, she found a tiger caught in a hunter's cruel iron trap. The magnificent creature's striped fur gleamed in the sunlight, but its body was tow with pain. Its amber eyes locked onto Amani, a mix of desperation and quiet plea evident in its gaze. Amani gasped, her instincts screaming at her to run. Tigers were fierce predators known for their strength and speed, yet something about this creature's eyes held her rooted to the spot. Help me, the tiger growled, its voice surprisingly soft. Amani's heart leapt into her throat. A talking tiger, she must be dreaming. You can speak, she whispered, her voice trembling. Yes, the tiger replied, I am no ordinary beast. A curse binds me to this form. Please free me, and I shall owe you my life. Amani hesitated, her mind racing. Freeing a tiger seemed foolish, even suicidal, but leaving it to suffer felt just as wrong. She glanced around, ensuring no hunters were nearby, then steeled her resolve. Using a sturdy branch, she pried at the iron trap, wincing as the tiger growled in pain. Finally, with a loud creak, the trap snapped open. The tiger limped free, shaking its paw and stretching its powerful body. It bowed its massive head low before Amani. Thank you, little one. I am called Onari. From this day forth, I pledge eternal loyalty to you. Amani stared in awe, her fear melting into admiration. Before she could reply, Onari disappeared into the forest, his striped tail vanishing into the shadows. Amani stood there for a moment, clutching her basket, wondering if she had just imagined it all. Little did she know this act of bravery would change her life forever. Weeks passed, and Amani's life returned to its usual rhythm. Each morning, she helped her mother fetch water from the well and tended their small garden, yet the memory of the talking tiger lingered in her mind. She found herself scanning the forest's edge, hoping for another glimpse of the mysterious creature. One evening, as the golden sun dipped below the horizon, Amani made her way home from the village. Well, the clay pot she carried was heavy, but her thoughts were light, filled with plans to surprise her mother with a freshly caught fish for supper. As she approached their small hut, a shadow flickered across her path. She froze, her heart pounding. Do not fear, a familiar voice rumbled. Amani turned to see Onari, his amber eyes glowing in the fading light. Onari, Amani exclaimed, a mix of joy and shock washing over her. Why are you here? The tiger stepped closer, his movements graceful despite his size. I promised my loyalty, and I have returned to fulfill it, but first you must know the truth of my curse. Amani nodded, her curiosity piqued. Onari settled onto his hunches, his tail curling around his paws. Long ago, Onari began, I was a great king, ruler of a vast and prosperous land, but my greed knew no bounds. I demanded more from the earth, taking without gratitude. The spirits of the forest grew angry and cursed me, binding me to this form until I repay an act of true kindness. Amani's eyes widened, and freeing you was that act, perhaps? Onari said, his voice heavy with doubt, but the spirits are fickle. Only time will tell if my debt has been truly repaid. Until then, I am bound to you. Amani's heart swelled with a mixture of pride and pity. She placed a hand on Onari's fur, surprised by its warmth. Then I will help you break your curse. You don't have to carry this burden alone. Onari's eyes softened. Thank you, little one, but remember, the forest's gifts must be treated with respect. Take only what you need and never let greed consume you. As they spoke, dark clouds gathered in the distance, a harbinger of the drought to come. Amani had no way of knowing that the bond she had forged with Onari would soon be tested in ways neither of them could imagine. The drought arrived swiftly and mercilessly, transforming the once thriving village into a landscape of cracked earth and withered crops. The village well, the heart of Amala, dried to a pitiful trickle. Families rationed water carefully, but even the meager supply began to dwindle. Desperation hung thick in the air one afternoon as Amani returned from the barren fields. She found her mother lying weakly on their straw mat, her lips cracked and pale. The sight struck Amani like a thunderbolt. "Mama," she whispered, kneeling beside her. Her mother's eyelids fluttered open, and she managed a faint smile. "I'm fine, child," her mother murmured, but her voice betrayed her frailty. That night, under the light of a crescent moon, Amani sat outside their hut, her heart heavy with worry. She whispered into the darkness, "Onari, if you can hear me, please help us." Moments later, a familiar growl rumbled from the shadows. Amon turned to see Onari emerge, his amber eyes glowing. "I hear your call, little one," the tiger said. "What troubles you?" Amani poured out her fears, her voice trembling. Onari listened intently, his expression grave. When she finished, he nodded. "Follow me," he said. Amani hesitated only for a moment before rising to her feet. Onari led her deep into the forest, far beyond the path she knew. The air grew cooler, and the towering trees seemed to whisper secrets to one another. Finally, they reached a hidden spring, its water shimmering under the moonlight. Amani gasped, overcome by its beauty. "This spring," Onari explained, "is a gift from the forest spirits. Its waters are pure and endless, but it must be shared wisely. Take only what you need and caution your people to do the same. Greed will bring you in." Amani filled her gourd, her hands trembling with gratitude. She turned to Onari. "Thank you, I will remember your words." She returned to the village, the precious water reviving her mother. Almost instantly, news of the spring spread quickly, and soon the villagers clamored for Amon to lead them there. Reluctantly, she agreed, but Onari warning echoed in her mind. The villagers initially approached the spring with gratitude and reverence, taking only what they needed. Amon stood watch, ensuring Onari words were heeded, but as days turned into weeks, whispers of the spring's magical abundance began to spread. Greed started to creep into the hearts of the villagers. "Why should we limit ourselves?" one man argued. "The spring will always flow." Another woman nodded. "If we gather more now, we can store it for the future." Despite Amon's protests, some villagers began to haul large pots to the spring, filling them to the brim. The once pristine waters began to lose their shimmer, a faint murkiness settling in the forest's vibrant energy dulled, and the animals that frequented the area grew scarce. Onari, watching from the shadows, growled softly one evening. He approached Amani as she sat by the spring, her face lined with worry. "They are ignoring my warning," Onari said. "The spirits will not remain silent." Amani's eyes filled with tears. "I tried to stop them, Onari, but they won't listen." "Then they must face the consequences," Onari said, his voice heavy with sadness. "The balance of nature cannot be broken without a price." That night, a fierce wind swept through the village. Trees groaned and swayed, their leaves whispering ominous warnings. By morning, the spring's flow had slowed to a trickle, and its waters had turned a murky brown. Panic spread among the villagers as their pots filled with hoarded water mysteriously cracked and leaked. "What have we done?" an elder murmured, his voice trembling with regret. Amani stood before the villagers, her small frame resolute. "Onari warned us. The spring was a gift, not a resource to exploit. We must find a way to make amends." The villagers hung their heads, shame washing over them. Together they resolved to restore the spring and the forest surrounding it. Guided by Amon and Onari, they began to replant trees, clean the spring, and honor the spirits with offerings of gratitude. The task of restoring the forest was monumental, but the villagers were resolute. With Amon and Onari as their guides, they began the arduous work of repairing the damage caused by their greed. Each day, they replanted trees, carried stones to reinforce the spring's banks, and gathered offerings for the forest spirits. The once lush forest, now bare and broken, slowly began to show signs of life again. Amon worked tirelessly, her hands calloused, but her heart determined. Onari, though often silent, stayed close, offering encouragement and wisdom when it was most needed. One evening, as the villagers rested around a small fire, Onari spoke. "The spirits are watching," he said. "They see your efforts and your repentance. Continue on this path, and the balance will be restored." The villagers nodded solemnly. Their guilt transformed into hope. Days turned into weeks, and the forest began to heal. The spring's waters, once murky, grew clearer with each passing day. Animals tentatively returned, their cautious steps a sign of trust regained. The villagers, humbled by their experience, began to see the forest not as a resource to exploit, but as a partner in their survival. One morning, as the first rays of sunlight pierced through the trees, the villagers gathered by the spring. Amani knelt by its edge, her hands cued around a small offering of fruits and flowers. She whispered it prayer of gratitude, her voice carrying on the gentle breeze. Suddenly a soft glow enveloped the spring. The villagers gasped as the water shimmered with an ethereal light. Onari stepped forward, his amber eyes reflecting the glow. "The spirits have spoken," he said. "They accept your repentance and restore the spring to its former glory. But remember, this balance is fragile. Respect it always." The villagers cheered, their hearts filled with relief and gratitude they vowed to honor the spring and the forest. Teaching their children the lessons they had learned as the celebrations continued, Onari turned to Amon, little one, he said, his voice tinged with pride. Your kindness and wisdom have guided your people. My debt to you is repaid and my curse is lifted. Amon's eyes filled with tears. You're leaving? Onari nodded. My time here is done, but I will always watch over you. You have the heart of a leader, Amon. Trust it. With those words, Onari disappeared into the forest, his form fading like a dream. Amani stood quietly, her heart heavy but full of resolve. She knew the bond they had forged would stay with her forever. Life in Umla village began to flourish once more. The forest, now vibrant and lush, provided an abundance of fruits, game, and water. The villagers, humbled by their journey, remained devoted to the lessons they had learned. Amon became a beacon of hope and wisdom, her name spoken with respect by young and old alike. One evening, as the village gathered around a communal fire, an elder rose to speak. We have much to thank for our forest, our spring, and the wisdom of our little Amon. Let us not forget the tiger Onari, whose sacrifice and guidance saved us. The villagers murmured their agreement, their gratitude filling the air like the warmth of the fire. As the stars glimmered above, Amon sat quietly reflecting on her journey. Her thoughts often wandered to Onari, the tiger who had become both protector and friend. Though he was gone, his lessons echoed in her heart. She rose from her seat and walked to the edge of the forest, where the trees whispered softly in the breeze. Thank you, Onari, she whispered, for everything. Suddenly a gust of wind swirled around her, carrying the faint scent of wildflowers and a distant growl that sounded almost like a goodbye. Amon smiled, her heart at peace. The villagers continued to thrive, passing down the tale of Amon and the tiger to each generation. The story became a legacy, a reminder of the importance of gratitude, respect for nature, and the courage to stand against greed. Moral lesson: true wealth lies in the balance of giving and taking. Gratitude and respect for nature ensure harmony, while greed disrupts the balance and invites ruin. Let us treasure the gifts of the earth and protect them for future generations. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Let's keep spreading the beauty of tales that teach and inspire.